Now, the CEO and Jerusalem bureau chief of Jewish News Syndicate, Alex Traiman, who's also an award-winning documentary filmmaker. Alex, great to have you on. Thank you.
Thanks, Kelly.
So Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu saying this new wave of strikes all across Gaza is, quote, only the beginning and essentially aimed at getting Hamas to release the remaining hostages. Do you believe these moves will be effective? And I think many are thinking, if so, at what cost?
Well, these Hamas took these hostages. That's the only card that they have, to hold Israel and the IDF hostage during this entire conflict. And Israel has stated that they have multiple goals. One is to get the hostages out, but they also want to see Hamas eliminated as a political and a military force. So they were willing to pause in the fighting in order to bring home as many hostages as they could get in negotiations. But the moment that they saw that the negotiations were stalled and that the tactic of pause was no longer proving effective in getting hostages out, they've returned to battle, with Netanyahu stating that the only negotiations from this point forward are going to be under fire.
Yeah, I want to dig into those dynamics a little bit more. But first, we highlighted some of the families of those hostages protesting now. They have expressed concern. What is the general sense in Israel at this hour?
Well, certainly the hostage families are concerned about the safety of their loved ones, and certainly every day that they're in captivity, it decreases the chances that they're going to come out alive and healthy. But I do believe that most of the protesters that you're looking at in this photo here are not the families of hostages. They are part of a long-standing anti-Netanyahu protest. We remember we had here 5 elections in a period of 5 years. We had major protests against Netanyahu's proposed judicial reforms in the summertime before October 7th. And these groups that organized those protests have latched on to the hostage forum in order to use that as what they hope is the silver bullet that would convince Israelis that they have the wrong prime minister in office.
Yeah, important context there. How might these strikes impact the stalled negotiations to extend a truce, especially when you consider the White House voiced strong support for these strikes as well?
Well, I think that the dynamic has changed since the time when the phase 1 was put on the table. That was in May of last year by the Biden administration. And Steve Witkoff, President Trump's envoy for the negotiations, he basically pushed Netanyahu and Hamas to accept that deal, which was put on the table by the Biden administration. But clearly, Witkoff and Israel seem to believe that they got a raw deal in terms of the number of prisoners that they had to release. And so having America behind Israel supporting these strikes, I think, does put much more pressure on Hamas to come forward with a better deal to release the hostages if they want the fire to stop.
All right. Well, we always appreciate your insight. Alex Traiman, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.